Hi, Jackie boy.
Keith, good morning, man. Hopefully the service is working on this one today. How are you? How's your weekend? How's it going with the Dexter? You through watching that yet? Good weekend for Marie and Marissa. Cuddy Black just got back from the Arnold Classic. What are your thoughts? Give me your feedback. How was the expo? Did you watch the shows? I watched most of the stuff online this week, and I guess for me, one of my questions that I'm most interested in was how was the expo? I heard the expos have progressively gotten worse over the past few years. I'm glad to say that I got to be a part of probably what was some of the best years for the expos, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, those years. First as a fan and spectator, then working booths, eventually having my own booth. What I hear now is that it's not so much about the bodybuilding and the athletes, that it's more about like who's the popular influencers these days, and that changes all the time. But I am curious to hear the feedback while we're the exciting points. Good morning, Luke. Good morning, Edmund. More and more busy. A lot of new kids getting into it. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. A lot of the guys that have been around for a long time that I talk to, they say the expos have gotten progressively worse. They say the Olympia Expo is terrible now. So it's been a few years, obviously, since I've been to an expo. They say at the Arnold, I think they said the strongman powerlifting has gotten a lot bigger, which is cool. I don't have the same interest in that. Mancini, what's going on? Saw videos, looked very ghetto. Yeah, I know a lot of the bigger companies, or former bigger companies that I should say, were not, I spoke to quite a few people that did not want to do big booths at the Arnold, based on Arnold's fuck your freedom comment. Okay, Keith, I'll check the DM later. Yeah, I watched the stream. Obviously, things are different when you are there in real life. I always tell people don't argue over things that you see in videos and pictures, because bodybuilding is much, much different in real life. Much, much different in real life. There's a lot of things that you just can't see on video and pictures. So, prejudging, I thought Derek looked absolutely incredible. And I thought, yeah, he may be the winner, actually. I didn't expect it to be so close. And then at the night show, I thought Samson looked considerably better, but the people that I talked to who were sitting close said it actually wasn't even close. So, like I said, it's much different when you see things in real life. So, hey, that makes bodybuilding a lot more interesting. It makes bodybuilding a lot more interesting to see guys come back and beat each other like that. Pros Gym, I've actually done some photo shoots over there back in the day. Got some good photos done in there back in the day, Cuddy Black. You got to try to get in there when it's not insanely crowded. Whatever happened to the Brooklyn Beast that used to be their company? Akeem Williams. You're talking about Akeem Williams, big monster Akeem. Great guy. Awesome guy, and was fun working with him for a while. When after the FDA raid, we decided to, this is a true story, Akeem will back me up on this one, but after the FDA raid, we had to really downsize the company quite a bit. Downsized, got rid of about 11 employees. It was a tough thing to do, to trim that roster down, and we also had to get rid of a chunk of athletes. But what I did was I actually negotiated him a better deal over at MHP. So I made sure I had a good exit for it. I couldn't do that for everybody, obviously. But I was happy to work that out. He was happy too. So me and him, stayed buddies over the years because of that. Good to see him still doing it, man. He was competing towards the end of my competitive little career. He was coming up. Knew he was going to be real deal, man. He was working with Palumbo also back then. OG Fortnite, what's going on? Mancini, as far as Sam Sulek, I see Luke's asking about Sam Sulek also. Honestly, man, I thought that the lineup that he was in, like I said, videos, you can't go by everything in videos, but the lineup that he was in, I thought was pretty much the worst pro qualifying classic bodybuilding lineup I've ever seen. It's crazy. I don't know. It blew my mind. It was the worst lineup. Usually, these lineups in classic are deep. You've got 15 really good guys usually, and it's hard to narrow it down, to just one call out. It was a two-man show, him and the guy that got second. And I thought that Sam probably had better shots overall than him, and I did think that he deserved it. Yes, I thought he deserved it. I don't think that it was really anything political. The other guy might have had a couple of shots that maybe looked better. But that's just the way it goes in bodybuilding. He was in good shape. Quads were separated. Posing got a lot better. I'm not really impressed with his physique, but I do think he was the best one there. I did hear some girl died there, coach or something. That's scary and sad. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Kimberly Curley, good morning. AFC 723 said it perfect, man. Sometimes nobody turns up and you get first. Seen it happen a bunch of times. Is he on his way? So Sam Sulek, is he on his way or is he still far off in your opinion? I think he's very far off from being a factor in professional now classic bodybuilding. There's a lot of really, really good classic bodybuilders. I wouldn't even think about the Olympia competitors right now. When you just look at the guys in the first call out of the Olympia, they're just on another level. And I think not only do I think he's many years away from that, structurally, I don't think that he can do it. That being said, there are some guys that don't have the best structures that do well in classic. But no, he has quite a ways to go. Again, though, I will say, when you're watching a bodybuilding show up close, it's much, much different than what you see in videos. Much, much different. And there are also certain guys that look way better in video than they do in real life, and the opposite. There was a bodybuilder named Lionel Biecki. Some of the old school guys, if you guys have been following bodybuilding for a while, will remember Lionel Biecki. He had a truly gifted structure and very round muscle bellies. And when you watched him in videos, you'd say, why is this guy getting his ass kicked at this show? He's a monster, he's so round. But he was the kind of guy who presented well in video because of how round and how his proportions were. Once I saw him up close, I was like, wow, this is why they say he needs to diet way more. He was much, much softer in real life than everybody else. It's just that his muscles were so round, it presented the illusion in photos and stuff that he looked great. Thoughts on James Hollingshed? Doesn't look like he has the structure or mentality to be a top 6 in the competitive lineup. I think he's done a lot with what he's got. I think a guy like that, you kind of just have to keep getting bigger everywhere and come in gnarly hard. He has come in gnarly hard before. He's come in gnarly hard. But again, once you get to that level, some of these guys' structures are just gifted. And it's hard to beat that if you don't have it. But I do think that he has done a good job with what he's got, for sure. Sway Garcia, no, you have seen that. All the no bad blood. That's all behind us. Me and Mr. Singerman. We're really typically not at this point. It would be like a violation for us to hang out or anything like that. But I'm sure once our probations are done, we'll break bread. So no, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. Let's see, thoughts on Patrick Moore blaming Aceto for his look on stage. Diuretic, saw a video about it. No. So, I mean, look, you say that, and then Chris Aceto has guys that are killing it on stage. And I'll tell you, I worked with Chris Aceto covering shows for years. He is not somebody that pushes drugs. He's not. So, you know, look, bodybuilders are always going to blame their coaches. And if they don't look right, of course, they'll blame it on diuretics. I know a lot of guys that work with Aceto. He's not an aggressive diuretic guy by any means. He's very conservative with it, so. Mancini said he was surprised by Bonac. I wasn't. Bonac's always in the mix. I'm not really a fan of his physique, but he's always in the mix. I thought Brandon looked great, Mancini. You're talking about Brandon Curry? I thought that he looked the best he's looked in a while. Do I sell farts? Depends. What's the going rate on farts these days? Could I make some money? AF723 asks, thoughts on Martin versus Nick at Pittsburgh? If I'm a betting man, which I don't bet, but I do like to look at the odds and whatnot when I'm watching UFC, my money goes on Martin in Pittsburgh. If I was Andrew Jacked, I'd show up in Pittsburgh after this showing. He really did a hell of a job at the Olympia. If he could dry his glutes out a little bit more. Ooh, he's a freak. Good morning, Melanie. Good morning. Listen, Mancini, the guys that were there told me that Brandon Curry's glutes were striated as hell. That he really brought it. So I thought he was very deserving of his placing. He came in better than I expected. I would say I think the disappointment, listen, the guys at the Arnold are going to bring it. The guys at the Arnold are going to bring it. I would say the disappointment of the Arnold was Carlos Thomas. And, you know, he had posted a picture about 10 weeks out, and it got everybody talking. I'm sure you guys all remember. It got everybody talking. And I did a podcast, Fit Nation podcast with Beatty Farrell. I said I think he's a dark horse. If he nails his condition, I think he can absolutely be in the top 6. So what happened? He didn't nail his condition. And I'll tell you guys, when bodybuilders are hesitant to post anything other than one really good shot, it makes you wonder. There was no back shots posted this entire time. Now, that could be like a, hey, I want to lights out, shock everybody when they get there. But, you know, you see guys like Samson, for instance, shows everything all the time. You know what's coming in. Derek was showing everything. You knew these guys were coming in shape. I think Brandon at the Masters Olympia is very exciting, very cool. It's awesome to see him still doing it after all these years. Badabuco, today's lineup: Mike Summerfield, Bob Paris, Barry DeMay, Vince Taylor. Well, listen, you know, Mike Summerfield's a good bodybuilder. He's a good bodybuilder. I'm going Vince Taylor 1, Mike Summerfield 2, Bob Paris 3, Barry DeMay 4. The thing with Mike Summerfield, here's my thing that when I watched the Olympia with him and Bumstead, very different looks. Extremely different looks, apples and oranges. But Mike Summerfield, his physique is like a miniature version of Martin Fitzpatrick. They have very similar physiques. Fitzwater, excuse me, not Fitzpatrick. And that's a good thing. He's very balanced. He's dense in all his shots. He does have a small waist. He's got a pleasing physique. He looks like a miniature. He looks like a miniature bodybuilder. So to me, here's my thing with Classic. People ask me what I thought about him and Logan in Classic. My thought was this: Mike is going to win because I know how they judge, but I like Logan better for Classic. You know, there should be really more definitive differences in these divisions versus just what's your weight cut off. So Mike Summerfield, I think, is a very good bodybuilder. He's honestly a better bodybuilder than all the guys that he beat at that show. And that's why he won. Again, though, if you look at the guys that he's competing against, they have dramatically different old school style physiques. Wesley Vissers, Logan, the other guys in the mix, they all have more of the Classic style. When we say Classic, they started this division because people that fell in love with bodybuilding because of the golden era with Arnold and Franco, Robbie Robinson, Sergio Oliva, those types of physiques. And it carried up a little bit, yes, into the 80s. So I think that if you want to have these different divisions, that there should be more of a split. Now, again, I'm going to go back to it. Who's the best bodybuilder there? Mike Summerfield. That's why he won. You know, I think Mike would smash Sean Clarita at 212, probably. Although Sean Clarita looked ridiculous. Ridiculous. Woo. Best Sean Clarita we've ever seen this year. Wow. Put on some good size. Great separation. Great muscle density. Is there anything that you took away and what we can learn from the death of Don Youngblood? I mean, there's things that we can take away from the death of many of these bodybuilders that have died young or died in their 40s. Died either while they were competing or right after competing. Between dangerous diuretic use, synthol abuse, becoming, septic in their systems. I think that one of the most important things that needs to be done is just consistent, routine blood work and monitoring. I'm not talking once a year. I'm not even talking once every 6 months. If you're going hard and you're doing all this stuff at that level, personally, I think that you should be going every 3 months. I really do. And getting thorough blood work and checks done. Bolshoi says, almost fell asleep during Andrew Jackson Sampson's boring posing. A lot of people were frustrated over the tongue sticking out from Andrew Jack. They said, what the hell is he doing? He did do a strange version of the old tongue stick out. You know, Mike Matarazzo used to do that back in the day. If I think about what else I saw over the weekend, the girl that won the wellness, Eduarda, incredible. Incredible. I didn't necessarily agree with the bikini winner, although she was phenomenal too. The top three were very, very good. Very, very good. I had the girl that was in second, Amy, Fitness by Amy, I believe is her IG. She looked incredible. Men's physique, close as always. Arnold said, what did you guys think of Arnold saying, Arnold giving the the negative comment on men's physique? I see a lot of people where Arnold said he'd toss it out if it were up to him. What if Lilo Brada at his peak was in classic? Probably one of the best. Yeah, I agree. Another one, more of a classic look. More of a classic look. Roberta Flack, killing me softly with his song. Or Etta James, at last, my love has come along. I'm going Roberta Flack for show. For show. Go with the Lauryn Hill, modern day version of it. Nathan says, Arnold can cram it. Fuck your freedom. Annie Barker, am I nervous to become a father? Yeah, a combination of nervous and anxious and excited. Nervous and anxious and excited. Marissa and I were talking about it the other day. She was like, do you think that we're totally prepared? I think we're really prepared. And I said, we are very prepared. I don't think you can never be really prepared. That's the main thing that most parents tell me. You're never totally prepared. There's a lot of figuring it out as you go. So I'm ready for that together, but we've certainly done a lot to get ready. I'm gonna open up this stroller that's in the box in the garage today, figure that thing out. Have I seen the Oscars? No, I honestly could truly care less about the Oscars. I'm interested in what you have to say about it though. It's easier than you think. Thank you, Cuddy Black. Thank you, Cuddy Black. I'll tell you, I would say probably the thing I'm most nervous about is changing diapers. I've never changed a diaper before. But I have cleaned poop out of Jack's ass plenty of times. So every time I have to do something like that, I feel like it's preparing me for being a father. Bolshoi says that at the Oscars, Ariana Grande looked like crackhead on the red carpet. Someone feed her. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with her. I've seen a lot of the images. I don't know if she's very sick, if she has some sort of illness that makes her not be able to eat. You know, maybe she has Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. I don't know. It is a little scary and frightening. How was Marissa's birthday? Thank you for asking, Mancini. It was wonderful. So Marissa turned 33. I'm a cradle robber. I got 11 years on her. She's 33. I'm 44. But we had a very nice dinner at Chops. We love Chops. Great steaks. And we had a little birthday sex, which is always fun. Some nice R&R. Nathan High says, as a child, you expect some level that your parents know everything. But in reality, it is their first time going through a lot of things that you'll encounter as well. That is correct. That is true. I think that my son is going to be in a very good spot because he's going to have both of his parents that love each other very much loving him. And I didn't really have that for quite a while as a child. I turned out okay, but a lot less gross when it's your own kid. Over 3 months, probably. See, that's what I'm thinking too, Cuddy Black. Like, we had little Angelina, who's the cutest little girl. My niece was over here. I seem like every time I pick her up, she poops. And as soon as I smell it, I'm like, hand off. What was my protocol to get Marissa pregnant? Asked by Craig Velasquez. So let me say this. A huge factor, I believe, in getting Marissa pregnant was that I was completely off steroids and did not even masturbate one time the entire time that I was in prison, guys. 22 months of not a single load being released from my body. So my body went through all sorts of changes during that time period. We went through having to come off of years of HRT and steroid use. So I think that at this point, if there was ever a good time to try, it was then. That being said, if you abuse gear like I did for all those years, it doesn't come back. It just doesn't come back. People might say it does, not when you're in your 40s. And so there was no way that I would have been able to do it without being back on testosterone cypionate, HRT. So when I first got out of prison, I got right back on 200 milligrams a week. I didn't get to do it at first the way I like to do it with every other day, mini doses, because I was at the halfway house. But I got on a low dose of HCG. All I was doing was 250 IUs on Wednesdays and on Sundays. Those are my off days. Wednesdays and Sundays, I did 250 IUs of HCG. In the meantime, with that, I did 25 milligrams of, at first I started with Clomid, and then I switched to enclomiphene every other day. And that was pretty much it. Now, at one point, I did get a peptide called gonadorelin, and I did use it for a month, and I actually happened to find out that that was the month that she was pregnant, but I can't say if it was really a factor or not, because if you look at when they say her actual pregnancy date was, I really was only on it for about a week or so. Now, I'll tell you, we did a lot also on her end, monitored her ovulation. That is extremely important. We also, the last couple months before we conceived, had her start taking Mucinex while she was ovulating. Extremely important. So there's other things besides just what I was doing, but that was the protocol. Badabuco, another lineup: Troy Zucolato, Eddie Robinson, Seth Feroce, Guy Cisternino. Man, I really liked Eddie Robinson's physique. So I think I go Eddie Robinson 1. Seth Feroce, at his best, has a hell of a physique. So Seth Feroce 2, Troy 3. Guy is just a little on the smaller side, poor guy, at the end. Guys, I have to wrap it up pretty fast today because we have another doctor's appointment to get Marissa's fluid checked. So very, very important today to get the fluid checked. My opinion on the meeting in the Oval Cabinet, Trump and Zelensky. So hilarious memes. Have you guys seen all the funny memes? All the funny memes. There was one about how every game of Monopoly ends with those two. I thought that Zelensky was disrespectful and rude, and he really went in there with the wrong attitude for somebody that has been relying on lots of American tax dollars. I would like to see us work all this out and not have any wars, and I hope they do come to that. The last thing I'm going to answer before I have to rush off here. Thank you guys for the well wishes to the doctor's appointment. Is on the Mucinex. I see Melanie wanted to ask about the Mucinex. So you might be the only woman in here, Melanie, so I guess I'm speaking directly to you. But when a woman ovulates, there's things that change with her body's chemistry and hormones. And one of the things that's very interesting, right, during ovulation is a woman produces more mucus. So you might notice that when you're ovulating, your vaginal secretions. Oh, Annie, I didn't know you were still in here. So I think I'm only speaking to 2 women in here, but this is very valuable information. So you'll notice when you're ovulating, your vaginal secretions, I will call them, are different. It's thicker. Sometimes you might even see like a milkiness to the discharging. When you have an orgasm, it's just different, right? Might be more wet, but there's just more discharge. So Mucinex works with your body's mucous membranes. It doesn't just work with your sinuses. It works with mucus in general. I had a very enlightening conversation with Tony Huge about this, actually. Another brilliant guy, one of my good buds that I like to toss ideas around with. And so, if you're trying to conceive, you can take Mucinex. It's an over-the-counter. It's an expectorant, right, that gets this mucus out. And it'll actually get rid of that mucousy discharge, which what happens is a lot of the sperm, if they're not powerful enough swimmers, they can't get through all that mucus. So you're creating an easier pathway for the sperms to get up there. And so that is a very valuable little tool that I certainly didn't know years ago, that honestly, once we started doing that, within 2 months, she was pregnant. It only took about 5-6 months for her to get pregnant, but as soon as we started doing that, it seemed that it happened. So something to think about, ladies on your end. We always treat the male side of things, right? Always treat the male side of things. You look at, oh, is your sperm count low? Oh, or do you not have good swimmers? So the first thing that I did was I assumed that I probably have terrible sperm because I'm old and I've done steroids most of my life. So I got my buddy as a physician's assistant that does quite a lot of this. He told me this test that I could do at home, bought it on Amazon, and it checks your sperm's motility, which is how well they're swimming, which is more important. So you do the test, and either you're under or over. If you're under, you may want to go and speak to a doctor about some things to do. Fortunately, I was over. I was barely over. But I was over average by about 10%. So I knew, mentally I knew, okay, I'm okay on my end. I can help create life now. Now, Marissa being young, I assumed that she was very fertile. And she was getting a little upset because girls like things to happen immediately the first couple months. But so then we started looking, what else can we do on her end? And that's an easy thing that a woman can do on their end. So if you're trying to get pregnant, or you know friends that are trying to get pregnant, there's a valuable bit of information. But you know, a lot of guys were like, well, my doctor told me I can't be on testosterone if I'm trying to have kids. And I tell you, I was on testosterone when I did it. I do think it was a big factor that I was off for 2 years, but there's no way I would have been able to have the sex the right way or as often without it. So I hope that helps. Bolshoi, James Dean for me, for sure, on that one. Shout out to James Dean. But, you know, who really cares as much about the guys, right? Yeah, if you want to have sex all the time and you've been used to, you know, being on testosterone or steroids your whole life, cleaning yourself out like that, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. You know, some guys may be able to do it, but, you know, having that testosterone boost there makes it a lot easier to get the job done. All right, guys, I'm going to go and hurry up and shower and get to this doctor's appointment. Wish us luck that the fluid is staying high, courtesy of the watermelon, which it has been. Very exciting. Marta, good morning. All right, guys, I love you guys. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Peace out. Bye.